Red Dead Redemption 2 opens not with triumphs, but with hardship. The Vandalin again stumbles through a snowstorm, wounded, hungry, and fractious. This beginning is not just narrative startup, it's a signal. The game promises open-world freedom, but quickly reveals that this freedom is an illusion. Beneath romanticized cowboy myth lies a tightly constructed system of survival driven by endless labor, moral surveillance, and bodily maintenance. This video essay explores how Red Dead Redemption 2 critiques neoliberal system through its gameplay, mechanic, and narrative structure. Arthur Morgan is not simply a wanderer outlaw. She is a managed subject performing labor, masculinity, and morality with a rigid structure of control. Drawing on Nagoda's concept of neoliberal personhood, Bogo's theory of procedural rhetoric, and Cossier's analysis of gender performance. I argue that RDR2 simulates not liberation, but exhaustion under capitalism. This tension evident within the very first hour of gameplay. Instead of presenting grand exploration of heroic conquest, players are immediately tasked with shoveling snow, scavenging for food, and driving frozen crosses. The illusion of control fades fast, replaced by logistical survival. Even in its tutorial, RDR2 enforces the idea that agency is constrained by material needs, not romantic idealism. From the outside, Arthur is put to work. He hunts, crafts, donates, gathers steps, and completes missions to substance the Vandalin gang. Every action has a cost and a reward structure that echoes and the logic of gig economy, unstable, individualized, and always demanding. Patrick Kigoda identifies neoliberal personhood as the exhibition that individual acts as self-entrepreneurs, endless, productive, and responsible for their own success or failure. This ideology is embedded into RDR's system. Players expected to contribute the game's survival through the camp ledger. The ledger quantifies Arthur's labor, public display contributions, and even allows staff to comment on his work based on donations. Works become more than survival, it becomes virtual. This aligns with procedural rhetoric, where systems encode ideology through mechanic. The ledger and resource economy do not simulate the cowboy fantasy. They gamify economic display. Missions such as moneyless landing and other themes exemplifies this process. Arthur deployed as a collector of debts, sometimes violently, on behalf of the game's financial structure. The moral implications of this labor are irrelevant. What matters is efficiency. Additionally, players who fail to donate enough to the camp may face subtle change in dialogue or lose access to upgrades, reinforcing social pressure to perform invisible, unpaid labor. The contrast is stark. Arthur is told he's free, yet spent his day earning just enough to keep going. He is the ideal liberal subject, flexible, mobile, endless, productive, and entirely replaceable. Arthur Morgan's masculinity is contracted through stoicism, silence, and self-denial. He rarely expresses vulnerability, and when he does, such as in conversation with Sister Calderon, it occurs in option scenes far from the game's main path. Casillas explains that gender is performative, maintained through content accountability to social norms. Arthur performs a hegemonic masculinity, emotionally distant, physically strong, and morally burdened. This performance is both exhibited by the game and enforced by the game structures. There are no mechanics that allow Arthur to cry, seek comfort, or process grief. When Hosea dies, Arthur goes straight back to work. His internal suffering is not acknowledged through a mechanic, only through scripted cutscenes. In this way, the game reaffirms what it means to be a man in this world, to endure silently, to suppress emotion, and to perform strength as obligation. Even in scenes of personal crisis, such as reading Mary's farewell letter, Arthur does not speak. The only player action available is to close the letter in silence. The game with Hall's express agency reinforces that emotional labor is not compatible with masculine ideal. Micah, Dutch, and John offer different masculine performances, but all are variations of dominance, controls, or stoicism. The absence of malleability is systemic. Red Dead Redemption 2 introduced a visible honor meter that tracks Arthur's moral standing. On the surface, this mechanic offers players choices: be honorable or dishonorable, but the consequences are systemically biased. High honor unlocks better ending and cheaper shop prices, while low honor leads to bleak cutscenes and expensive goods. Buggles' content of procedural rhetoric help us understand this. Morality is not expressed but calculated. Morality becomes labor. Players must repeatedly engaging in good behavior to maintain honors, sparing enemies, helping strangers, feeding the game. About ethical deliberation, but optimization. This creates a moral economy in which values is determined by repeat actions, not intention. The same logic applies to Arthur's body. If plays allows him to go too long without eating or cleaning, his health and stamina cause decay. Standard penalties reinforce bodily maintenance as a form of discipline. Even Arthur's illness is turned into a gameplay tool, a countdown mechanic through which players must earn empathy. Neoliberal ideology reframes suffering as a path to narrative closure. Similarly, Arthur's body managed through core mechanics. Players must ensure he eats, sleeps, bakes, and drinks appropriately. If he becomes too thin or too fat, his stats decrease. Even illness, Arthur's tuberculosis is turned into a redemption as the player must use his dying body to redeem his honor before the game ends. This reinforces neoliberal notions of self-discipline, bodily optimization, and redemptive suffering. While Arthur is clearly under systemic pressure, so too is the player. Louis Everett's concept of interpolation describes how ideology helps individuals, making them subject through everyday rituals. RDR2 does exactly this. By requiring players to act within its structures, donate to the camp, maintain honor, control Arthur's diet, it turns players into moral laborers. Freedom, in this context, is narrowly defined. Players giving agency with carefully bounded systems. You can choose how to labor, not rather to. The game doesn't ask, what do you want to do? It asks, how well can you fulfill expectations in doing so. Its construct a player's subjectivity aligns with neoliberal ideology, efficiency, self-sacrifice, and internalized discipline. The game menu's systems, gun maintenance, wardrobe selection, horse bonding offer the illusion of choice while reinforcing an managerial mindset. The player is transformed into Arthur's supervisor, constantly ensuring his optimal performance. The player does not expect the system, they produce it through participation. Arthur's story ends in death, but the players rewards with peace if they played honorably. This reinforces the logic of virtue through compliance. Suffer, follow the rules, and you will be remembered kindly. Red Dead Redemption 2 is not a fantasy of freedom, it's the tragedy of endurance. Arthur Morgan is not the last freeman. He is the ideal neoliberal subject, disciplined, exhausted, and resigned. His masculinity is not a source of power, but a burden enforced through silence and sacrifice. His labor is not rebellious, it's ritualist meetings of collaborative system. Through a tightly designed system of labor, minority and bodily control, RDR2 reveals a structural mechanism that defines personhood under late capitalism. It turns the mass of Cowboy into a simulation of economic anxiety. In doing so, it asks us not to how to win, but how much we are willing to give up to be good. Enrolling players with the most peaceful ending for compliance, the game replicates the cultural logic of late capitalism: be good, be silent, and accept your role. RDR2 does not merely dispense systemic collapse, it quite trains the players to endure it. And perhaps most powerfully, it shows how even the illusion of freedom can be another form of control.